Stockpiles of nuclear warheads lay primed and ready across the planet. At a moment's notice, these missiles could soar above the clouds before smashing back down to Earth, creating mutually assured Armageddon for us all.
China's military capabilities amid a report the country recently tested a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile.
China could soon be able to deploy a nuclear-tipped missile that U.S. defenses would find much harder to detect.
But is this scenario really plausible? After all, we haven't destroyed ourselves so far, so that must mean humanity has the potential to use nuclear weapons responsibly, right? Don't be so sure. The truth is, we've come close to a global nuclear war on more than one occasion. And we're not just talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Some of these events will shock you, and not because the unthinkable was so narrowly averted. But how close did we really come? What caused these close calls? And what caused us to take our finger off the big red button? Let's find out.
More than 51 million people entering another.
Surveillance camera capturing the unidentified flying object.
Lockdowns and mass testing.
Today, that the world is going to end.
In 1960, NORAD mistook a large-scale Soviet missile launch for the moon. That's right, the moon almost caused the end of our civilization. Although NORAD immediately went on high alert when the moonrise was spotted over Norway, people immediately started to have doubts. After all, then-President Nikita Khrushchev was in New York City at the time, so it wouldn't make sense for the Russians to blow up their own leader. Unless they wanted him dead, of course. This situation was quickly diffused, but at one point, NORAD believed that missiles were going to hit the United States within 20 minutes. In 1979, NORAD was rocked by a massive computer glitch that affected Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado, the Strategic Air Command, the National Military Compound Center, and the famous Raven Rock Mountain Complex. This glitch created the illusion of a mass Soviet missile strike, and NORAD immediately began preparing its own nukes for launch. A decision had to be made within 7 minutes, and we came extremely close to this time limit, before everything was called off. According to the official report, confirmation of a false alarm only came after 6 to 8 minutes. Implying it went right down to the wire. The cause of this debacle was eventually revealed to be a training program that was mistakenly loaded into an operational computer in the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. The Soviets were understandably shaken by the entire incident, with Brezhnev stating that there should be no errors in such matters. To make matters even worse, 3 more false alarms quickly followed, all caused by faulty computer chips. The survival of the human race may be thanks to one man, Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov of the Soviet Air Defense Forces. It was Petrov that first detected the launch of 5 missiles. Petrov froze, unable to move a muscle from within the bunker. Protocol stated that he was to pick up the phone and call his superiors immediately, but he knew that doing so would ensure nuclear destruction for most of the planet. Petrov had strong suspicions he was looking at a false alarm. After all, why would the Americans only send 5 nuclear missiles, when they had the capability to fire hundreds at Russia? Something didn't quite add up, but the lieutenant colonel was still taking a huge gamble. If he was wrong, Russia would be wiped off the map. He later stated, "All I had to do was reach for the phone, to raise the direct line to our top commanders, but I couldn't move. I felt like I was sitting on a hot frying pan." After 23 minutes, Petrov's theory was proven correct. It was just a false alarm caused by a satellite that had mistaken clouds for warheads. Petrov's superiors didn't really know what to do with him, and he was treated with a mixture of praise and disdain. Publicly recognize him for his correct decision would have exposed vulnerabilities in the Soviet missile detection system, and so, the entire incident was swept under the rug. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Russian Federation continued to deal with near misses. Boris Yeltsin was Russia's first president, and he didn't waste any time when he activated the nuclear briefcase. This was the first time a nuclear briefcase had ever been activated in world history, that we know of. Yeltsin believed that NORAD had launched nukes near Norway, but it was only a scientific rocket designed to study the aurora borealis. Nevertheless, Russian ballistic submarines were put on high alert, and Yeltsin prepared to strike back. The crazy thing is that Russia was informed ahead of time that this was just a scientific rocket, but the information was never passed along to Moscow's radar operators. In 1965, the United States suffered a wide-scale power outage, causing many nuclear bomb detectors to malfunction. The command center of the Office of Emergency Planning saw these circuit errors and initially came to the conclusion that major US cities had been hit by nuclear warheads. In 1967, a massive solar flare and a coronal mass ejection made several NORAD radars go haywire. NORAD panicked and assumed that they were dealing with some kind of Soviet jamming technology, such as an EMP. As a result, they came extremely close to launching a fleet of nuclear bombers against the Soviets. Fortunately, the attack was called off when the truth finally emerged. Many people today state that one of the most dangerous presidents to ever take control of the nuclear football was Richard Nixon. This was because of his issues with depression and his up-and-down temperament. In 1969, Nixon allegedly became drunk and ordered F-4 Phantoms in South Korea to nuke North Korea. Thankfully, the order was superseded by Henry Kissinger, and the jets stood down. There are many other examples of near misses, almost too many to list. Even flocks of birds have triggered false alarms in the past, which should give you an idea of how insane this all is. With so many close calls, how is humanity still here? Statistically speaking, we should all be dead by now, and at least one of these false alarms should have resulted in the unthinkable. Some believe that our ability to pull through is no coincidence. There are those who say that nuclear warheads have been disabled by UFOs, and others that say that they don't exist, and even others that say that divine intervention has protected us from Armageddon. Only one thing is for sure, that the problem isn't going away anytime soon.